Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we've got the pleasure of watching Zampei96 playing in the Tier 8 Chinese heavy tank, the 110. The 110 is always a funny old vehicle with regards to the fact that obviously the IS-3 is very strong, and the 110 is very similar to the IS-3, like a lot of the Chinese tanks are similar to their Soviet tier counterparts. Now really the strength of the 110 compared to the IS-3 has to be its frontal armor, this kind of beak design that you see later on. Well, the IS-3 does have a bit of a beak design, but it's not as prominent as this. This thing looks like it has been given the Roman nose of World of Tanks. And that means that if you can hide the lower plate and keep your armor angled like this, the upper hull armor is very effective indeed. And also the front of the turret is rather strong on the 110. It does have some cupolas, but they're not too prominent. The problem with the 110 with regards to its armor is the side. It doesn't have that gigantic amount of spaced armor, and it's also a much taller hull than the IS-3, which makes it very much more vulnerable if you do get shot in the side of your vehicle. The 110 also has higher DPM than the IS-3. It has a 100mm gun that has 320 alpha damage rather than 390, but the rate of fire advantage makes up for that, and you have about 100 or I think 200 extra DPM than an IS-3, which is quite substantial when you need to shoot your way out of trouble. Unfortunately, the tank does have less penetration. It has 215 rather than the 225 or 226 that the IS-3 has. So you've got to watch out for that. That 10mm can make a little bit of difference when you're trying to brute force your way through your opponents. Apart from that, the 110 has slightly better aim time, but worse gun dispersion stats. And also, the tank has much worse horsepower to ton ratio than the IS-3 does, which makes it a little bit slower, especially when you get off-road. So Zampei has managed to get himself into position, and the start of this video is going to be all about the supporting role that Zampei is going to provide for his team. There's a Centurion 7-1. He's also got an E-75 that's behind him, those two top-tier Tier 9 tanks. And he's going to be basically providing the extra DPM for these two fellows, be able to take down some American heavy tanks. These T-34s, gosh, they're in a platoon together. They don't look like they've had a very good day at all. Now Zampei can go after this T-29. Oh gosh, that T-29, wow, he bounces off the front of his hull. That's what 215mm is going to do against the upper plate of a T-29. That T-29 looks like he is using the 76mm gun. Oh, that's really unfortunate. Poor T-29 there. But great progress by Zampei's team here. He takes a swing at a Jagdpanther, does a fairly low roll of 282 to him, and now focuses his attention against the Panther 2. Centurion 7-1 shuts down the Panther 2 just before Zampei was able to deal with him, so he decides to shoot at the predecessor, the Jagdpanther on the enemy team. Now, Zampei has already seen what has happened. Effectively, his team have traded one flank for another. The enemy team have butchered their way through the Eastern Pass, and they will now be starting to approach Zampei's base, whereas Zampei's team totally destroyed all of the tanks that didn't ever quite make it into the town, and are now going to be pushing on. How many tanks is that? 6 tanks push on, 2 tanks turn back. The Centurion 7-1 and Zampei have realized that the cap circle is going to be under intense assault momentarily. The artillery is trying to run away. Will the FV-207 manage to escape? He's pressed his F7 key. He's begging for help, but it isn't going to save him as the Tier 9 British medium tank shuts him down. Now Zampei realizes that he needs to close the distance. Sure, he'd like to sit back in the town right now, but if he sits back in the town, even though he's got 380 meters view range on this tank, which is much better than the IS-3, 30 meters better, which can really make a difference when you're trying to spot your opponents, he's not going to be able to see them from back there. 2 great shots shuts down a very dangerous tank on the enemy team. That Centurion 7-1 had already picked up 4 kills and was in a position that he would be able to get easy side shots into that weak 110 armor that we were talking about earlier. And that would have prevented Zampei from advancing, which is something he needs to do right now. The enemies are putting pressure on the cap circle. There's now 3 members of the enemy team inside the cap circle. He has 12 seconds to interrupt. Using his 380 meters view range and some aggressive positioning, he's managed to get forwards. He's got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes! Oh, fantastic. Resets the Tiger. He's also lighting up the enemy team for his 87 and T-34 buddies who are behind him. So hopefully they're going to be putting in some good shots. And yes, they are. The 87 shuts down the M103, that Tier 9 American heavy tank. A very dangerous vehicle in this matchup. And Zampe is doing some serious work right now. He's hiding his lower plate, which makes his upper hull armor very effective. He's bounced 3 shots, and now he is going to town with the 100mm. You only need 215mm of penetration when you're aiming just as well as Zampe is here against these kind of vehicles. And he is just shutting down the entirety of an advance. And it's not just the damage that he's doing. The fact that he's done 4,500 damage and picked up 5 kills right now, the enemy artillery narrowly missing him. It's about the fact that he had that awareness to get back to base. And not just that awareness, but the realization that he had to be very aggressive and put his tank in danger to be able to spot for his team. Enabling those 2 vehicles behind him, the T-34 and the 87, to assist him in interrupting the cap circle. Now Zampe manages to pick up his top gun, his 6th kill. He drives straight through the building and shuts down the not-so-super Pershing. 7 kills, 5,000 damage. What a result, but the game isn't over. Even though Zampe left all of those tanks on the other flank to push on into the enemy base and deal with it, doesn't look like it's done them much good, as now there are only 2 vehicles remaining, a Tiger P and an IS-6. Look at this E-75 who managed to die in the open field, but that's what happens if you get engaged upon by a Centurion 7-1, a Borsig, and 2 artillery from long range. Now, some really nice sportsmanship here. Well, the 87 on Zampe's team congratulates him on a fantastic game. I bet you those 2 felt really good working together to hold back just a whole host of enemy vehicles. Sounds like Zampe did manage to hit the T-25-2 there. And the GW Tiger P shuts down the Tiger P, the regular tank, on his team. Now, one thing I should highlight here is the Centurion 7-1 on Zampe's team here says, guys, I'm playing with my 8-year-old daughter. It's her 3rd game in the T-34. Happy face. Seriously? Oh gosh. So that T-34 that's behind Zampe, who's on 100% hit points, is okay. So it's their 3rd game playing in a Tier 8 tank, so don't expect much from them. So that means Zampe, you've got to work with this IS-6 and the 87 to be able to take down your opponents here. The enemies seem to think that Zampe and his friends haven't managed to get back from defending the cap circle quickly and decide to rush. Good shot there into the side of the turret of the Borsig, taking out a very dangerous Tier 8 German tank destroyer. But the Centurion 7-1 has managed to make it into the dip. Oh my word, I cannot believe that absolute school bus of a self-propelled gun managed to bounce the shell from Zampe there, right off the hull armor. But Zampe has picked up his 8th kill now. He's got his Radley Walters. Can he hit the T-25-2 on his approach? And the Centurion 7-1 just went over into that ditch, but decided to come all the way back again to deal with Zampe, probably wanting to fend his artillery. Zampe hits the upper plate there. No, you've got to hit the lower plate of a Centurion 7-1. Pretty good upper hull armor on that vehicle, unlike the Tier 8 counterpart. However, he has him right where he wants him now, tracking him, and he is as dead as he can be from the 87. Great result there. Even more synergy between Zampe and that Tier 7 British tank destroyer, who now slams in a shell into the GW Tiger P. The Tiger P realizes that he can't come forwards and shotgun Zampe because of the 87, and so he pulls back, scuttling away behind the buildings again. Now Zampe side scrapes. Good work of using his armor here, and the T-25-2 didn't expect that. Nice, easy 9th kill. But he's got to worry about these 2 artillery pieces sitting in the base. Those self-propelled guns could still end this round. And if they manage to take down Zampe and his 110, and then perhaps get a lucky shot off into the 87, who's on just a smidgen of his hit points left, I'm not sure if the T-34, who is playing her 3rd game of World of Tanks, is going to be able to handle this. Although, I like what Zampe's doing here. He is flanking around, and he's going to use the gap between these train tracks to lay down the law on these self-propelled guns. Great shot there into the Su-14-2. Your side armor isn't quite as good as your frontal armor by the looks of it. 2nd one in, and he's gone. And this GW Tiger Pig on the enemy team doesn't really seem to know what's up. And Zampe picks up his 11th kill, 6,657 damage. What an absolutely superb, all-round, holistic performance in the 110. It truly was a pleasure to watch this one. Talk about having to carry Zampe. You had to do everything for your team here. At the beginning, you had to play the supporting role for larger tanks, such as that Centurion 7-1 and the E75, supplementing their DPM to be able to work through the enemy team very quickly. Then, your map awareness showed that you had to go and then defend the base against overwhelming odds, also providing vision support for the T-34 and the 87 on your team to work together to stop an onslaught, just a huge amount of vehicles trying to capture your base, saving the game with only a second left on it. And then at the end, you had to cross the entire map to be able to deal with more tanks and more self-propelled guns to just pull off a huge carry. So let's just take a look to see if Zampe was rewarded in the post-game stats. And boy was he. Zampe 96 secured his third mark of excellence in the Tier 8 Chinese heavy tank, cementing his place among the elite players of this vehicle. He also gained 67,000 credits, and that is without a premium account. With a premium account in this standard vehicle, he would have made 101,000 credits this game. And also, I guess that means that 2,325 experience he gained was base. What a huge round. Pulls medal, steel wall, high caliber, defender, and a patrol duty. You literally had to do it all, even though you're playing a heavy tank. Zampe showed some great marksmanship this game. 31 shots, 30 hits, and 27 of those penetrated, and I don't think he even fired any APCR rounds. Nearly 7,000 damage done, and the armor of his tank held up fairly well. 1,680 blocks, giving him a potential damage received of nearly 2,800. Using that 380 meters view range that the 110 has, he was able to get 2,000 damage upon detecting, of which the majority was against people like the Tiger and the M103, who was trying to take his cap circle. Zampe 96, congratulations on this monster replay, as well as your third mark of excellence, an achievement in any tank. Thanks for uploading this replay on the replays.QuickyBaby.com website. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys did as well. If you did, please consider giving this video a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And if this video has sparked your interest in the Tier 8 Chinese heavy tank, then simply click through up here and you can go through to see the 110 versus Stalingrad, or use that more info icon in the top right hand corner of your screen to see a plethora of 110 replays, including a full tank review. And let me know in the comments down below how you think the 110 stacks up compared to the IS-3. Do you think that it has a place in Tier 8 tank companies / strongholds? And also, I should mention that tonight I'm going to be doing a giveaway on the live stream. There is 100 euros of store credit up for grabs on g2a.com, which is my official retail partner. The best place to get games at ridiculously low prices. I've even got a discount code for you, baby, that you can use on whatever you buy. And you can find a link in the description down below if you don't want to go onto my Twitch page. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.